Good morning, everyone. Good afternoon or good evening, depending on where you are. Welcome to our webinar today here this morning in San Diego on the SEVIS transfer process. So we're going to wait a few minutes just to let some folks come from the waiting room, and then we'll go ahead and get started. All right. Looks like folks have come in from the waiting room, which is great. So we're going to go ahead and get started this morning. Welcome again to everyone. This is the International Services and Engagement Office's presentation on the SEVIS transfer process for F1 students. My name is Gabriela Hoffman, and I serve as the Senior Director here at the International Services and Engagement Office. We also call ourselves ISEO, which you'll become familiar with once you come to campus. And I'll let my colleague Shauna introduce herself.
Hello, everyone. My name is Shauna Slabiota. I work in the Graduate Education and Postdoctoral Affairs Office, where I'm the Graduate Care and Student Life Advisor. And so if there are graduate students that are in our audience, happy to help them as best I can.
Thank you so much, Shauna. So I just want to take a few moments to go over the agenda today so everyone knows what to expect. We're going to briefly be going over the first steps checklist for our newly admitted students to make sure that you are meeting all the different requirements to meet your admissions requirements. Then we are going to get right into the topic, transferring your SEVIS record. And this is for students who are either currently enrolled at their institution or might be on post-completion OPT. So we'll go over both of those topics and address both of those populations. Then we'll finish up with some additional resources, and we'll leave some time for Q&A at the end. Before we begin, I just want to go over some housekeeping so everyone is aware of kind of how things will operate here. So as everyone should hopefully be aware, you are in listen-only mode in our webinar mode. So you can hear us, but we cannot hear you. That doesn't mean we don't want you to ask questions. So please feel free to submit those questions using the Q&A feature. And if you have more involved questions that are more case-specific, you can contact us at icontact.ucsd.edu. We are recording this webinar. You will be able to view it later at inewstudentwebinars.ucsd.edu. It takes about a week or so for the recording to go up on the website, but the slides are usually available within just a few days, so you can check those out. All right, so again, the control panel, you should all have to hand here to enable you to ask questions. I'll briefly go over how this works. So if you'd like to submit a question, again, you may send it through the Q&A button on your control panel, which looks like this, and it will be sent privately to all the presenters and the panelists. The presenters will stay online, that's myself, for about 15 minutes afterward to answer any questions that you might have. And if we see certain common questions come up, I'll read those out loud so that everyone can benefit from the answer, but I won't identify anyone specifically by name, so your privacy is protected. All right, so first, let's go over a brief introduction of ISEO, or the International Services and Engagement Office, here to support you throughout your time at UC San Diego. ISEO offers a number of different services, including pre-arrival support and orientation, such as the webinar that you're attending today. We are also the office on campus that will support you in maintaining your status as an international student. To do so, we offer virtual and in-person advising, process immigration documents, and a number of other services. In addition to that, we also offer a number of programs and events to cultivate a globally engaged community here at UC San Diego. Our vision is to foster an inclusive and globally engaged university where all members of the international community have equitable opportunities to achieve their academic, personal, and professional goals that cultivate a culture of global citizenship. Now let's talk about the populations that we serve. We are very fortunate to have a very robust international community here at UC San Diego, as you can see here by the numbers. We support over 10,000 international students, including both enrolled students as well as students who are here working after graduation, either on OPT, STEM OPT, or academic training. We also have over 2,000 international faculty and scholars who work here at UC San Diego. And with these international students and scholars, we support over 1,000 international family members who are joining them during their time here. And to do so, we work collaboratively across campus with a number of different partners to support our service population of just under 14,000 in total. But let's take a moment to focus specifically on our international students here. So as you can see, we have over 8,000 currently enrolled international students with a pretty even split, around 4,000 undergraduate and 4,000 graduate students. You can see that the most popular academic departments here, as well as places of origin. However, we do have students coming from over 100 different countries, so you are joining a robust international community here at UC San Diego. All right, so now we're going to go ahead and just go over some reminders, some first steps checklist items to make sure that you're getting the best start here at UC San Diego. And with this first slide for graduate students, I'll go ahead and have Shauna go over these items.
Thank you, Gabi. All right, so if you are joining our graduate student community at UC San Diego, there are a few things that you'll need to take care of as you're getting ready to start your grad program. The first is that we really want you to go into your application portal. I'll put a link in the chat. And you want to accept your offer of admission if you have not already. And you also want to see if the statement of legal residence form is listed as a to-do. And if it is, that you want to go ahead and take care of submitting that form. Within your portal, there is a section that will list any pending admissions documents that need to be submitted, as well as instructions for how to submit that documentation. So please take a look at that. Make sure that you're sending us your transcripts, your test scores, all of that great information that we need to have to finalize your admission. And if you have any questions about the portal, about your admission, about the documentation, please contact gradadmissions@ucsd.edu and our staff will take care of that inquiry.
Thank you so much, Shauna. And for those of you who are our undergraduate students, just a few checklist items for you as well. So if you haven't done so already, please do log into your applicant portal. The link is here on the page, be it triton.ucsd.edu/account, and complete your enrollment checklist. Okay, this is going to be really important for you to review before you come to UC San Diego. Obviously, the first thing, excuse me, we would like for you to do is to formally accept your offer of admission. Also, make sure to complete the California residency for tuition purposes questionnaire if required. In about 2 to 3 days after going through these steps, you will receive an email asking you to create your Active Directory and Duo accounts. Note that there might be some delays to this process because UC San Diego is in the process of launching a brand new student information system. So some of these processes in terms of getting your Active Directory account, your Triton student number to access certain services might be slightly delayed. It's really important you keep up to date in your enrollment checklist for any updates and information on how to obtain this information. So once you have that information, though, and you're able to go in, create your Active Directory account, that will give you your UC San Diego PID is what we currently call it. It will soon be called the Triton student number, and it will also give you your UCSD email address. Your UCSD email address is the only email address that we will correspond with as a university, so it is extremely important that you check that email regularly. If it is not something that you check regularly, make sure you set up email forwarding so that you can get it to where you do check, but we will only be writing to your UCSD email once you are admitted to the university. And here are a few more items on our inewstudent.ucsd.edu page that I wanted to share with you. This lives on ISEO's main website. This walks you through the various different steps on what to complete, whether you are an undergraduate, graduate, or exchange students. So if you again go to inewstudent.ucsd.edu, this has a wealth of information to help our international students specifically navigate the first steps in coming to UC San Diego. All right, so now we're going to get into the presentation itself on how to transfer your SEVIS record to UC San Diego. As we get started, I do want to let you know that this presentation has a lot of information in it, so I would encourage you to listen actively and watch the slides. Again, we are recording, so you will be able to go back and watch this webinar in about a week once it's posted online. So let's get started by first understanding what is a SEVIS transfer. An F1 student may be eligible to transfer their F1 record between student and exchange visitor programs, certified schools, and this just refers to institutions who host international students. The SEVIS transfer process is a way to electronically move your F1 student record, also called a SEVIS record, from one school to another while retaining the same SEVIS ID listed at the top of your Form I-20. The SEVIS transfer process does a couple of things. It sets a date called the SEVIS release date on which access to the student's record transfers to the new school. And this basically means that your current school on a specific date will transfer the responsibility of maintaining your F1 student record over to UC San Diego. And the second thing is that it also ensures that your current SEVIS ID number, that long number at the top of your I-20 that starts with an N00, will remain the same, even though you'll be obtaining a new Form I-20 from UC San Diego. And of course, it ensures that our institution, UC San Diego, will now be responsible for updating your SEVIS record and advising you on how to maintain your F1 status. Step 4 in this process is to receive your new Form I-20 from UC San Diego and complete SEVIS check-in with our office in order to finish the SEVIS transfer process. As I mentioned, we're going to walk through each of these steps in the presentation. It's a lot of information, so let's get started by looking at step 1, which is determining eligibility. In order to be eligible for a SEVIS transfer, you need to look at a few things. This is with regard to the timing of your SEVIS record. Your SEVIS record must be released by UC San Diego before the end of a respective grace period. For F1 students, you have a 60-day grace period following a completion of your enrollment or your OPT, and you must request that your current institution release your SEVIS record to UC San Diego before the end of your 60-day grace period. So some common questions that F1 students typically ask when they're trying to determine whether or not they're eligible for a transfer is, where do I find my program end date? How do I know when my grace period starts and ends? In other words, how do I figure out what the deadline is for my transfer? So let's talk a little bit about determining your program end date. Your program end date is what will determine the start and end of your grace period. So looking here at a few pieces in addition to that here, again, your SEVIS, the student must be an active or valid F1 status at your current institution or an OPT status. Your last date of enrollment or last date of OPT must be within 5 months, less than 152 days of the start of classes at the new school, and your SEVIS record must be released before the end of the 60-day grace period of the student's active Form I-20. If you are currently enrolled, these are for those students who are still studying, completing their programs. In terms of determining eligibility of your end date, it's important to check the program end date on your most recent Form I-20. So note that this date could be an estimate. Some schools will not put the exact date of your end date. It can sometimes be the end of the month of the year in which you are graduating or finishing your program. So make sure you know what the end date is on that program. Ask your DSO at your current school, and this goes for those on OPT as well. You can still access these resources. Ask them to confirm your actual program end date, as this will determine the eligibility in the window that you can actually transfer your record to UC San Diego. If you are currently enrolled and will not be undertaking OPT prior to starting your new program, again, your program end date on your I-20 should be pretty clear, but make sure you're talking to your DSO. Alternatively, if you are currently on post-completion OPT or STEM OPT extension, instead of referencing your last date of enrollment, you'll be using the last date of your authorized OPT as your program end date for the purpose of the SEVIS transfer process. Again, you can check this with your DSO. They can go over your EAD card with you if you have any questions to be absolutely sure. You can reference on your EAD the date under the card expires date on your EAD there to see when your last date of authorized OPT is. This will determine your actual end date of your current I-20 at your previous institution. Again, you'll need to make sure that your last date of authorized OPT is within 5 months of your start date of classes here at UC San Diego. The last date of authorized OPT is also what will determine the start of your 60-day grace period. In other words, the time frame within which you must transfer your SEVIS record. Now that we've discussed how to locate your program end date, let's talk about the 60-day grace period. Remember that the start and end date of your grace period is determined by your actual program end date. In the 60 days following either your last date of enrollment or your last date of authorized OPT or STEM OPT, you must take action on your SEVIS record. Some of the actions that F1 students can take during their 60-day grace period are working in the US via OPT, starting a new program at their current school, starting a new program at a new school, or pursuing a change of status to a different visa category. Or if none of these actions are taken, the student must depart the US by the end of their 60-day grace period. If a student does not take any action within their 60-day grace period, such as transferring their SEVIS record or applying for OPT, etc., their SEVIS record will complete and their F1 status will automatically end. Once that happens, they will no longer be eligible to transfer. If this student does not take one of the actions, as we previously discussed within that 60-day grace period, then their SEVIS record will complete and their F1 status will automatically end. And again, once their F1 status completes, they're no longer eligible for a SEVIS transfer. So to summarize everything we've talked about so far with a visual here, remember that this is what you need to check on to determine if you are eligible for a SEVIS transfer. Is your F1 status in good standing? Are you completing enrollment or OPT within 5 months of your start of classes here at UC San Diego? And can you ensure that your current institution can transfer your SEVIS record to UC San Diego before the end of your 60-day grace period? Now that we've looked at step 1, let's talk about step 2. You will need to talk to your current institution, so your DSO or International Student Office, and ask them, how do I transfer my SEVIS record to my new school? What do I need to submit in order for you to release my SEVIS record? This process does not happen automatically. Students do have to coordinate with their school to transfer the record. We don't get this automatically once you are admitted to the university. And most schools will require students to fill out a form of some kind in order to request a SEVIS transfer. Your current DSO or International Student Office will be able to tell you what they require. And when you ask them this, it's also a good idea to double check your eligibility with them. Remember that you should have already done the work of step 1 ahead of time to determine that you're eligible for a SEVIS transfer. But it's a great idea to check your understanding of your eligibility with your current school, especially if you have any questions about it. What is important to remember is that you need to choose a SEVIS release date that is before the end of your 60-day grace period that we talked about a little bit earlier. If you are currently enrolled, your SEVIS release date must be a date within your grace period. If you are currently on OPT, your SEVIS release date must be a date either within your grace period or a date during your authorized OPT if the release date meets the 5-month rule. We're going to take a look at each of these 3 scenarios so you can apply your own situation to the relevant timeline. Okay, so once you decide on a SEVIS release date and follow your current institution's process for requesting the transfer, your current school will release your SEVIS record to UC San Diego on the date that you have chosen. And from the day that your SEVIS record is transferred, past the end of your grace period and until you begin your program here at UC San Diego, you may remain in the US. You do not have to depart the US during this time. And I just want to say that again, as long as you meet the SEVIS transfer eligibility requirements and your SEVIS record gets released within your 60-day grace period, you may remain in the US and wait for the start of your new program here at UC San Diego. So let's take a look here at this scenario that the first one that we wanted to talk through. So choosing a SEVIS release date for a student who is currently enrolled, okay? So let's say the last date we know of enrollment occurs, let's say in June, right? You have, as an enrolled student, 60 days from that end date, usually the last date of enrollment, to make sure that you initiate the transfer to UC San Diego. In those 60 days, you may transfer your record out, and while it is pending, while you are transferring it to UC San Diego, you may stay in the United States during that time. You do not need to depart the US. As long as that transfer is happening within 5 months of your last date of enrollment, you've set the transfer date within the 60 days of your grace period, you do not have to leave the US, apply for a new visa. Even if your visa stamp has expired in your passport, you do not need to apply for a new one unless you plan to leave the US. But if you plan on staying inside the US, you don't need to renew your visa. Stay in the US and you can begin your classes on time in September at UC San Diego. All right, and just as in the prior example, this student is going to request a specific SEVIS release date that's within their 60-day grace period, right? And in the time between their SEVIS release date and the start of their new program here in the US, again, they can remain in the US. But it's important to remember this individual here is on OPT. They are working. It's important to remember that during this period after your SEVIS release date as an OPT student, while you are waiting for your new program to start, you may not continue OPT employment because your OPT has ended. The moment that you transfer or arrange for the transfer to be released to UC San Diego during your OPT, that is the date that your employment ends on that previous record. So during this time, again, while you're waiting for your program to start, you may not continue working in the US, and you may not because your OPT has already ended. So just be really, really careful about that. Sometimes that trips up students who want to continue working through the summer. If that's something you want to continue doing, look at your timeline, take a look and see what's possible in your transfer dates. If you want to work a little longer, you might push those dates out a little bit longer. Every situation, of course, is unique. Make sure that you're looking at what works best for you and just understand that that employment will end once you release your SEVIS record to UC San Diego. All right. And in the other two scenarios, the time between SEVIS release date and the start of the new program here at UC San Diego, again, you can remain in the US. Again, but you cannot continue your OPT employment because your OPT will have ended. So that does end your OPT a little bit early. Again, you can stay in the US. You do not need to leave, but you just need to stop working before classes begin at UC San Diego. So I know, again, this has been a lot of information, but remember, don't worry, this webinar will be posted online if you decide you'd like to watch it again at a later date. Right now, we're going to move forward onto step 3. And don't worry, the next 2 steps have slightly less information, so this might be a little bit more digestible. So step 3 is after you've chosen your SEVIS release date, you have followed your current institution's process for requesting a SEVIS transfer. Now it's time to request your new Form I-20 from UC San Diego. To request your new Form I-20, you'll need to visit our online international student services platform, which is called iservices.ucsd.edu. iServices, you will submit one of the following new admit service forms. It will be specifically a new admit I-20 or DS 2019 request. Now, what can sometimes be confusing for students, specifically transfer students, is again, there is sometimes a misunderstanding that once you release the record from your previous school, you will automatically get an I-20 from our school. That doesn't happen automatically. You have to both request the release of your transfer record from your previous school, and you must request an I-20 from our school so that we know to locate your record for you in our system and issue the I-20 to you that, again, retains the same SEVIS ID on it. This is something, unfortunately, that happens every year. Students think that, well, I released my records, so UC San Diego should just have it ready for me. And we won't know it's released to us until you submit a request and let us know that it's been released to us. And so that can lead to status problems and falling out of status if students do not actively request this. So again, please be sure to, once you've released the record to us, Even before then, request the I-20 in iServices. You will be able to use your Active Directory login information that I mentioned at the beginning of the presentation once you have your student credentials, so that you can obtain this I-20 and have it with you as soon as it is ready. If you are starting your program early or doing a summer program of any kind, this is permitted. You are also allowed to transfer your record. Some students do preparatory programs in the summer. There are summer boot camps and things of that nature. Just make sure that you are transferring your record in a timely manner. Make sure that you understand you are in a summer start program that begins before the fall. If you're unsure if you're in a summer program, check your admission letter. It will state so very clearly. You can also ask your department or the college you are going into if you are not sure. Regardless, you will still be completing the new admit form, which will take you through a series of questions in iServices that will allow you to submit a transfer in request, and we will process this for you. So I wanted to just show you a little bit about what the page will look like when you go into iServices. It will ask you specifically information to check your eligibility to transfer. So it will ask you about the 60-day grace period, how to prepare for the application, and confirm that you reviewed our transfer FAQ page to make sure that you are eligible. It will also ask you to confirm that you are transferring your record to us. You're not getting a new start I-20, but you're getting a transfer I-20, and you could submit this at the end of your application, which will then alert us to issue your SEVIS transfer I-20 for you. All right, last step. So now that you've submitted your new admit I-20 in iServices, the last step in the SEVIS transfer process is to receive that I-20 and make the necessary actions to complete your transfer. When you receive your new Form I-20, it will show as transfer pending status at the top of the form. Your SEVIS transfer cannot fully be completed until you've met certain enrollment requirements and submitted the check-in form to ISEO following the start of your UC San Diego program. So let's talk quickly through what you will need to do to make sure that that I-20 is updated accordingly. So once you receive your transfer pending I-20 from UC San Diego, review it to make sure all of the information is correct and that your SEVIS ID number matches the SEVIS ID on your previous I-20. This is so critical. If there is any mismatch in the numbers of your SEVIS ID that starts with the N00, please let us know as soon as possible so that we can look into it. It can lead to serious status problems if those numbers don't match. Once you have that I-20, you may enroll in courses. Of course, check with your college or academic department on the timing of that. You are expected to enroll full-time in person by your Form I-20 program start date, whether that's a summer start date or a fall start. You're required to report any changes to ISEO through the iServices new admit updated I-20 request to maintain your Form I-20. So if anything changes at all after you've gotten your I-20 from us, funding changes, name changes, anything of that nature, you are required to report that to us. You may apply for on-campus employment once you receive it. You may travel and re-enter the U.S. If you're not subject to a 30-day rule. So what I want to be clear about is that students need to be very cognizant of their visa stamp status in their passport. If you have an inactive visa stamp, if it has expired and you are traveling, you need to make sure that that is valid before you come back into the US, or you need to just allow for extra time to apply for a new visa stamp. So make sure that you are aware of this and that you have an ability to come back into the US if the visa stamp has expired in your passport. And again, you can use your new I-20 to apply for or renew your F1 visa from abroad. Okay, we are almost at the end here. Last but not least, please know that your SEVIS transfer process is not completed until your program start date at UC San Diego, until that date arrives and you've submitted your check-in form to iServices. In iServices, iServices, there is a service form called Check-in for I-20 Activation. You must submit this form within 10 days of your UC San Diego program start date. And again, you can find that program start date on the front of your Form I-20. The check-in form will ask you a series of questions, including having you confirm that you are here in the US. We cannot complete check-in for you if you have traveled outside the US and have not returned yet. Once we receive your check-in form, we will activate your SEVIS record and your SEVIS transfer process will then be considered complete. So in summary, for step 4, your new transfer pending I-20 will be issued to you after your SEVIS release date is passed and we have received your iServices request for it. Once you get your new I-20, our processing time is 15 business days. Double check the information on your I-20. Make sure everything is correct. Your SEVIS ID is the same as your previous SEVIS ID. And also remember that your SEVIS transfer process is not complete until your program's start date arrives and you've submitted your check-in form via iServices. All right, so now that we've gone through the 4 steps of the SEVIS transfer process, I'm going to go over a few final reminders about how to get engaged here at UC San Diego and move into some Q&A time. Before we get into the get engaged portion, I do want to just pause and answer any sort of immediate questions that might have come through the chat. So let's just take a look here. Yes, this is a great question. This comes up a lot. So this person asks, my school has asked me to provide UC San Diego's SEVIS school code. Can you please let me know what the SEVIS school code is? So if you go to our inewstudent.ucsd.edu page, whether you are an undergraduate or graduate, you can click on that student population's name, graduate or undergraduate, and there will be a set of drawers underneath there that tells you what our SEVIS code is. So that is listed publicly on our website so that they can transfer that record over to us. Some of these are a little bit more specific, so I might get into them afterward. One question, this is good because I know a lot of people do apply for their passports or renewing their passports while applying for their I-20. And this individual is asking, can you let us know if we can use the passport application number in the I-20 as my current passport that I'm renewing is still under processing. So when we are issuing the I-20, we will actually not take any information numbers from your passport itself, and it doesn't play a role in your application. We do make sure that the copy of your passport you submit is valid and up to date. If it isn't, that's okay. We will still process it and let you know that you need to renew your passport, obviously, if it's expired. But having a passport that is under processing should not keep you from applying for your SEVIS transfer. That shouldn't at all. These are good questions. All right, keep the questions coming. I will still stay online for a few moments after this, but we're going to go ahead and get into some of the get engaged portions of the presentation so that students know what to expect when they come to the United States. All right, so some of you may have already started to receive these newsletters from our office, but the first way that we really like to keep engaged with our students, make sure you have all the information you need, is through our iNew Students newsletter. So we will refresh the recipient list for this newsletter every week as new students are being admitted, and make sure that you are getting this newsletter on a weekly basis. This newsletter gives you important information on how to prepare for your time at UC San Diego. It gives you updates on important dates and deadlines, and it will also set direct links to our iNew Student webinars and other information like our Getting Started guide so that you have all the information you need to get started at UC San Diego. The second piece I wanted to go over here is the welcome guide. If you haven't seen this already on our website, so ISDO has created a welcome guide that's filled with helpful checklists and interactive links, such as how to next steps you need to take before you start classes and getting prepared academically, next steps to take preparing for arrival, what steps to take upon arrival when you get to San Diego, if some of you haven't been here before. The link here is at the bottom on how to access those that guide specifically. It's very robust. A lot of it was designed by students as well. So it's really, really helpful, a really helpful guide for our students to bookmark and read through before you get started here. The next guide is our Surf Check guide. And this was completely designed by students for students. It's a complete preparatory guide on coming to UC San Diego, and it covers the most frequently asked questions that our international students have. So it's topics like housing, transportation, setting up a phone, bank account, what things to pack, what's the weather like, all sorts of different things. Whatever you can think of, it is probably in this guide. So definitely check out, again, it's under the same link under our guides section, Surf Check. And we also have a webinar, I think it was last week or 2 weeks ago, that we actually went through the Surf Check live, as we call it. That recording should be up, where we go through the guide itself to help you through navigating it and what resources to use. I also wanted to highlight some of the major programs that we have running at ISCO throughout the year. We offer many more than these, but these are some of the major ones that we do run. So if you visit iprograms.ucsd.edu, this is a great way to get involved and learn about the different opportunities to engage with other international students, American students. There are outdoor programs like Triton Trekkers, where you get to explore the beauty of San Diego with other international students. While you're here, we set those up a few times a year. We have our global coffee hours once a month. Come grab coffee and donuts for free and just mix and mingle with other students. We'll be having our global coffee hours during orientation as well, that you'll all receive information about. We also have our English in Action program. This is our conversation program for any students who are looking to be paired with a native English speaker to improve oral fluency and language skills. This is a wonderful, long-running program, about 30 years that it's been in existence, that creates lifelong connections for our students and our partners here at UC San Diego. And we also have game nights, crafting events, just great community events for students to get involved in and get to know one another while they're here. For anyone who's interested in leadership opportunities, we have our International Student Advisory Council that meets on a monthly basis with ISCO leadership, including myself and our assistant directors. This is our opportunity to hear directly from our students about what issues are concerning them, what are advocacy pieces that we could be doing as a university for our international students. So it's a great way to be able to engage with senior leadership and advocate for international student needs while you're here at the university. For those of you who are undergraduates, I also wanted to go over our Global Ambassadors Program, or GAP. This is a summer-long peer mentorship program that really helps you get started before you come to UC San Diego. This connects undergraduate international students with current students over the summertime, so you have the opportunity to connect over email, over any other sort of medium that works best for you and your GAP mentor, to help guide you through getting started at UC San Diego. So if you're interested in learning more and becoming a mentee, you can go to gap.ucsd.edu. And our graduate students also have a peer mentorship program available to them through the GradVals program. Again, this is a summer-long peer mentorship program that matches international grad students with current UC San Diego graduate students, to help them become acclimated to life here at San Diego. Many different aspects, of course, are so different in joining graduate school. And so we do our best to match our students with, for example, if you're a PhD student with another doctoral student, for example, masters with masters, so that you really get a good sense of what to expect as a student here at UC San Diego. You can find out more by going to this QR code. You can also go to our peer mentorship program webpage on our ISCO website, and GradPals will come right up so that you can become a mentee. And then we have our iEvents calendar. This also lives on our website at ievents.ucsd.edu. This is where we like to collect various different events that are happening on campus, as well as collect all of the programs that are happening within ISCO, have them here living in one place, so that our students, from whether they're international students or domestic, can become involved in globally focused programs. So this is updated nearly on a daily basis, and has great opportunities to become involved in different, whether it's organizations or activities on campus. So it's ievents.ucsd.edu. We also have an active Instagram, so if anyone is interested in connecting with us, please feel free to do so. We post, like I said, pretty actively, and this is a great way to get to know other students who are coming in through the university as well. So you can see our link here. Instagram, we are at istudents.ucsd. And a few additional resources here as we wrap up the presentation. So just some important deadlines and reminders for both our grads and our undergrads. You can begin requesting your visa documents as soon as you have your student account set up at iservices.ucsd.edu. On-campus housing, that deadline did pass for undergraduates in mid-April. Decisions should be coming out within the next couple of days for first-year students and for transfers. Our graduate students, it's more of a rolling application process, but if you are looking for housing, I encourage you to apply as soon as possible. And for our undergrads, hopefully you'll be hearing soon on the outcome of your housing for this next year. July is the deadline to submit health immunization requirements and complete the OPHD training. That should all be listed in your admissions checklist that I went over at the beginning of the presentation. You can also visit studenthealth.ucsd.edu to make sure that you have all of the requirements to hand, that they are ready by July to be submitted. If they are not, registration holds can be put on students' accounts who have not met these requirements, so make sure you do that as soon as possible. Then, of course, in September, it is move-in, it's check-in, it's all the different orientations that are happening. It's going to be a flurry of activity and information. We'll be posting more information specifically about our international student orientation at iorientation.ucsd.edu in the coming weeks. And we'll also be providing more information on iTriton, which is the self-paced preparation course for international students and understanding their status and how to get started at UC San Diego very, very soon. Again, for those of you who might have joined a little bit late, this webinar has been recorded. It will be posted, but please allow for about 1 week for upload. Again, that's inewstudentwebinars.ucsd.edu is where you can access them. We'll also send out the links via our newsletters that I mentioned earlier so that you can access them directly. All right. Thank you everyone so much for joining us. I'm going to just check the chat to see if there are any more questions that have come up in the meantime. So someone has asked, asking specifically about their current school not their current school, but does UCSD have a transfer in form that they need their current school to complete? This is an excellent question. I'm glad you asked because this does come up quite frequently. No, UC San Diego does not have a transfer in form that your school needs to complete. The only thing we need from you is for you to work with your current school to transfer the record out to us, and then for you to create an iServices request asking for your transfer I-20 from us. Those are the only two steps that you need to go through. So no, we don't have a form that for schools to use. A few more questions about passport validity, and whether or not students can apply for their I-20 with an expired passport. So we know, again, a lot of students are applying for renewals of their passports during this time. You do need to upload a copy of your passport to the iServices request so that we can issue you the I-20. But it's going to be important that if it is expired, that you leave a note in your application saying that you are in the process of updating your passport, that you are renewing your passport. That way we know that it's coming. We can still issue the I-20, even if your passport is expired, but just make sure that you leave a note there so we are able to see that and we can continue processing your application. Don't think I see any other questions from here. Again, if you have case-specific questions, especially when it comes to timelines, your specific timeline for transferring, I highly recommend, of course, first working with your school, your DSO, but you can also contact us at icontact.ucsd.edu. You can see our contact information is listed here. This way, an advisor can actually go into the specific details of your case and provide specific information based on what is happening with your case. And this is okay. So another question that's just come through. I've already requested my previous school to transfer your SEVIS record. Fabulous. And I've also submitted my I-20 request to ISCO. Wonderful. Asking if my I-20 is still pending and being processed by the office, do I need to take any additional action during this period? Great question. And the answer is no. You've done everything that you should be doing right now. You've transferred it in the period of time you need to. You've made the request. So right now you just wait for our office to process the I-20 for you, and we'll get that to you as soon as possible. And another good question here. After we transfer the SEVIS ID, we should be able to use the same F1 visa to re-enter the US. The answer is yes. If you have successfully transferred your I-20 to UC San Diego and you've received that I-20 from UC San Diego, as long as that SEVIS ID matches on your current visa stamp, yes, that is completely fine for you to use for travel, assuming also that it is not expired. So yes, that's completely fine. Thank you everyone so much for joining us today. I really appreciate the good questions that have come through. Again, if you have specific questions, case questions, please contact us directly so an advisor can assist. Other than that, we appreciate the time that you've taken today, and we look forward to welcoming you to UC San Diego this summer or this fall. Take care, everyone. Bye-bye.